What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco. It is Philly the podcast. I am joined, as always, by my man Brandon. How you doing, brother? But today,
let's go.
We have a very, very special guest. We are very honored to have him on here. My man Ryan Hughes. You might know him as the former Philadelphia Eagles mascot Swoop for 12 years. Ryan, how are you doing? And thank you so much for joining the show.
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for being honored. I appreciate that. It's been a while since I heard that word from when it comes to me. So thank you.
Definitely. We're very excited to have you on, man. So we'll start basically kind of in the middle. We'll just get right into it, man. So You went to University of Delaware, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So I know, they have kind of a rich history of mascots and everything like that, but just kind of give me an overview of why you picked Delaware, what it was like going there.
Sure. I didn't go to Delaware originally to be a mascot. That's for sure. That just kind of happened very, very quickly in my first couple months there. But something about the University of Delaware just felt like college to me. I don't know what it was. It didn't have that big feel either. So I did like that, even though it's a kind of like a medium-sized school. I did just clicked, and I visited a couple other places, and it just weirdly felt right. And it obviously was a really, really good choice, and not knowing where it was going to take me. That's for sure.
Definitely. Now, can you explain a little bit more about that? Because I watched an interview with you and Jamie Arrington, I believe is how you say his name. And that's kind of how I found out about who you were and everything. So I was hearing a little bit about the history of mascots at Delaware. Can you kind of give us I'm sure the fans don't really know too much about that, but it was pretty interesting when I heard about it.
Sure. Well, I'll fast forward to right now. The person who is Swoop was also a blue hen. So
wow.
So it kind of puts it all together there. I started there in 1995, and I actually ended up taking over for a gentleman who went to the Houston Rockets as their mascot. He just retired a couple of years ago, but he was there for about 20-something years. Wow. And then it just happened that we just started getting back to back guys going pro is what happened there. So it just became this like weird mascot where it just, the bar was set really high to be like one of the best mascots there. We were collegiately placed. My senior year, I was second in the nation as a college mascot. The guy that took over for me placed as the winner, and so on, and just kind of kept going. So we had at one point Houston Rockets mascot, myself at the Eagles, the guy who worked for the original Philly Fanatic is one. Then you had the Baltimore Ravens, and he's still there. You had a Las Vegas minor league baseball team, Durham Bulls, Capitals. Goodness, I'm probably forgetting a couple other Nationals. So it became a camaraderie, and it became, since a couple of us were in the backyard of the University of Delaware, we would keep going and just kind of teaching the incoming students like how to be a better mascot, and it just kept it going for a dozen years or so.
So when you're walking along campus, because like you said, your initial reaction wasn't I'm going to college to be a mascot. Sure. What drove you? Like, did you see a flyer? What kind of got you to be like, you know what, I'm going to go audition for that?
You know what? That's exactly what, because back in 1995, we weren't like, it wasn't an email. It wasn't like social media. It was literally a flyer up on the wall. And I happened to run into UD at a freshman event. And I thought to myself, oh, that's a good looking costume. And kind of like Philly, the Fanatic, the Baltimore Oriole Bird, where I'm originally from, the Oriole Bird is a very loved character too. So that is just something that just, two and two together. And I liked the costume and then saw the flyer and I thought to myself, well, I want to get into athletics somehow. That was one thing. So I thought, okay, this is a good excuse to maybe, get into it. But then found out not only athletics, but, ended up doing more public and community relations as well, which is huge for, a mascot. But yeah, a flyer, literally a flyer on the wall.
We're all dating ourselves a little bit. I don't think, some of our fan base might not even know what flyers are anymore.
Piece of paper, you use Scotch tape. Yeah.
It's a social media post, but it's not on the internet. I guess we'll put it that way. That's probably the best way.
Exactly.
So I'm glad you brought up, the community involvement and, your passion for athletics as well. Because I think people kind of see a mascot, don't realize how much work it actually takes. So can you kind of guide us along what, the responsibilities and duties as a mascot is?
So it is being involved in the community 7 days a week. So I would do roughly 400 appearances a year. And of course you go, well, there's only 356 days, but like Saturdays I'd leave 7 in the morning and then I wouldn't get home till sometimes midnights because I'd be doing a parade to a birthday party, to a grand opening, to literally wedding receptions. So it's just, it's an extension of a team, right? As being a mascot. So you are, a player or a coach, someone, they're not as available. So you have someone specific who can be that kind of arm that's out there, and it creates memories. It really is one of the fun things about, literally one of my last ever appearances with the Eagles is I was at a school, an elementary school, and a teacher comes up to me, and this was before, and I was kind of over the, hey, you don't see me out of costume beforehand, I was retiring at that point. And the teacher kind of looks at me as we're getting set up, and he said, "So you're Swoop?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm the guy that plays it." And he asked me, he said, were you at, such and such summer camp back in the day? And I said, I used to do this particular summer camp, I'm forgetting its name, every year. And I was like, yeah, I did do that every summer. I said, "Were you one of the counselors?" And he said, "No, I was one of the kids." And I was like, oh my God, wow. You're doing this because you're a teacher now? So little things like that. It really is, the business side of being a mascot is if you are at little Timmy's birthday when he's 8, he could be a fan for life. And right. Something as simple as that. And when you have somebody who's avid as a fan at that age, they will, once again, business side, they'll spend money on tickets, they'll buy shirts, they'll buy hats, they'll do that for life. And it's a big thing. It's an investment for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So, you said, you have to do a bunch of events. You have to also do a bunch of, photo shoots and commercials and all that stuff. So are there any certain times or certain people that you may have worked at that kind of stick out to you even now?
So for commercial shoots, I did a couple things for ESPN. I never did a Sports Center commercial, which would have been like the pinnacle. But I did when ESPN, the magazine, came out. I did some for that. I did a commercial shoot for DirecTV, where they were bringing the NFL to the house. And I actually ended up getting cut from the commercial, which was surprising to me because it was me throwing clothes out of the laundry. And at this one point, the director was loving it because like a bra goes poof. I thought I was in, but I guess maybe some of the NFL didn't like it. The NFL shop commercial with the kangaroo, me and the kangaroo, is probably the one that got the most play for a couple of years. But as for people, there's famous people left and right. Drew Carey, I did a commercial shoot with, and I high-fived Bill Clinton at the Super Bowl because we were running by each other in the hallway. I don't think the Secret Service was cool with it, but whatever.
You're still here. You're still here.
Yeah, right. But it really, the things I remember are the going to the children's hospitals, like really like the kids, the people that were so excited to, get a picture with Swoop, and just that's what's always in my memory. Because that passion, like I fed off that passion, I fed off that energy. So that was always what was really, really cool for me.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of the Eagles, how were you able to get to them? Was it like perfect timing when you graduated school, or like was there tryouts? I got to know, how did you become?
Okay. So a little bit of everything. One was timing wise. I was graduating. They were hiring. Persistence. I was in their backyard, so I wasn't gonna, until I got in the door, I was not going to, and to the point where I even said, look, even if it's not for the mascot role, if I could be an intern, I can always help back up. So my initial interview was not based on being a mascot, actually. But I came with tape in hand and pictures. Like, I came ready just in case. And that ended up being a good idea. And because I was not the first pick. And, but at the same time, what made me their ultimate pick was that the other character, the other actor, had never really been in costume before. He was just a really good gymnast. So they got him to an event, and he was just like a what we used to say, dude in a suit. The guys on the side of the street that are just waving. They don't. They're just like, hey, every once in a while, you're not falling off. So that's the big thing. Yeah, I wasn't a gymnast. I told them I'd learn how to do backflips and stupid stuff, but they saw that in costume, I was more entertaining. So they went from this idea of having this guy who was going to dunk on in the goalpost, which ultimately couldn't end up happening, by the way, to somebody who could actually, keep a crowd entertained. And that's what I was. So I just persistence. And then, yeah, when I got that chance with my foot in the door, I came ready.
That's awesome. My father always used to tell me growing up that luck is nothing but timing and preparation meeting. You know what I'm saying? So you hit the right timing, but you came prepared, and that's what you're supposed to do. Just to kind of go on a little bit of a tangent, I used to work in Jacksonville at a country club, and I was able to work with a lot of the Jacksonville Jaguar players and a lot of their staff. And that's kind of when I got a new respect for mascots, because I was able to meet their mascot. And he does some insane stuff.
He's
crazy.
Know
you jumped out of a plane as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. How was that?
So I've been up on top of the lights, by the way, where Jacksonville jumps off. If you're scared,
he's crazy.
Don't go up there, which I'm not. Thank goodness. So jumping out of a plane was the only way I could see fit to do my first ever entrance into my first ever game in 1999. It was the Eagles versus Cardinals, that infamous game where Brian Finneran missed the ball and it went into the Cardinals' hands. And they kicked, lost, and then he got cut. Falcons. But anyhow, he still holds a grudge on that, by the way. So that was one of the most exhilarating things I've ever done. And the crazy thing was we never got to do a practice run until that morning. And the weather never cooperated the weeks leading up to the practice run. And with practice run, we want to see how the costume runs, We had clearance to do it because if you've ever been to the stadium, the airport is right there. So you have FAA to deal with and things like that. But my sister was getting married in Baltimore the night before too. So I had a crazy 24 hours. And so basically I had to be there in the morning, 6, 7 in the morning. And if the weather wasn't good, we couldn't jump anyway. So we said, well, if it's going to work, we can do the practice run this morning and we'll call it from there. And the weather was perfect. 72 degrees, not a cloud. I mean, just ultimate skydiving weather, apparently. So we took a couple of test runs that morning. One, just a full height just for fun, just get that full minute of free fall. And then the next one we did was 8,000 feet, which is a go, count to 3 and then shoot, right? And I was going tangent. I wasn't the one doing I was just going for the ride. I had a professional skydiver in my, attached to me, thank goodness. So when we jumped over the stadium, I mean, that stadium was, perfect circle, and it was about this big. And we get down, we go, pop the chute, and it actually acted like a speaker. So you could hear like the music. It was really neat. But as we get closer and closer, the gentleman Doug, who was the jumper, he was going in. He goes, "Oh man, we don't have any wind." He said, "This is going to be a crash landing." So when we get up to the infamous 700 level, I'm going to turn, and I'm going to turn fast so we can just get as much braking wind as possible. They said, so we're just going to spiral from the north end, and then by the time we get down to the south end, we're gripping and going with wind. And he said, before we crash, you need to raise your legs up really high so we can just get as far down as possible. Thank God I was 22 years old. I felt the vet turf that was spray painted green concrete. So soft landing. So that was also Doug Peterson's first home game too as quarterback, by the way.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, right before Donovan was getting those couple series as we were going. And so it was amazing. It was a crash landing, and my ass hurt the whole game.
So you basically flew from Baltimore and then just flew right into the stadium. That was really
my goodness. It was there. There's a picture that I have, in my files where you could see us like practically sideways. I mean, we came in screaming.
That's awesome.
And with Donovan, I mean, you were around during a time where we were pretty good pretty much every year with Andy Reid, McNabb. The one year we had T.O. He's probably one of our best receivers we've ever had, even though we only had him for a short time. What was it like interacting with the players and being around them?
They were awesome. Donovan he gets a bad rap because he was always like goofy, but at the same time, what a good dude. He really was a leader, and there was, we had at that time the Brian Dawkins of the defense, right, and then Donovan of the offense, and two different personalities and two different styles of leadership, which is fine. But yeah, Donovan was amazing to work with. In fact, I would do a couple of his charity events in Chicago and such. And give me a pair of his. He actually had a deal with. He had his own Jordans custom made, so I'd always bring a pair of those too. So I have a couple of those laying around. So just a solid and our team was good people, and I know that every once in a while there'd be a surprise signing from Andy Reid, but all in all, our team was just solid individuals to work with. They were a fun team, and yeah, it was a good run. It's a good run. I'm surprised, not to say that the Patriots cheated, but we should have a bigger ring.
Yes, sir.
You won't say it, but I mean,
hey, we got it back.
Exactly. History likes to fix itself every now and then. Right. So we got probably your favorite in air moment. We'll say that the crash landing might be your best in air moment. Yeah. We know you got to work with some great people as far as the staff and the players go, and we know you got to high five with the president. That's pretty awesome, but. Is there anything else like sideline memories that you just, you look back on and just keep remembering?
Oh, man. So I think most of the stuff was once September 11th happened, we couldn't do any more skydiving, things like that, because we were so close to the airport. Right. So the thing that was always something I enjoyed to do was push the limits with the zip lines and the stunts and the rappels and those kinds of things. Those were something that I look back on and go, if I wasn't who I was, I would never been able to do that. I mean, there's railings there on purpose. There's no reason you should be on the other side standing on an I-beam 100 feet up in the air. I mean, it just shouldn't be a thing. So I got to do that. I think those are some of my most favorite memories of getting to do really ridiculous things that were absolutely dangerous, absolutely stupid, so much fun. Rick Brown, who was a Philadelphia Fire and Rescue, did all of my stunts, and he was all about safety. So I never felt like I was in danger at any point. And I would even push the limits on him sometimes where, I would put pyro on like my feet and stuff, and he would just look at me like I'm an idiot. So those are probably some of my favorite things. That and, getting to interact with the fans, getting up whenever we scored a touchdown. And if I was on there, I would be up, I'd get myself up onto the stands when I used to be able to jump a little. I know I'm making that now. But getting up there and singing with them and just the passion of the fans, those are some of my absolute favorite memories. Is just the really ridiculous stunts and the camaraderie, I guess you would say, for lack of a better term.
Did you grow up a Philly fan?
No. So I grew up originally from Baltimore.
Okay.
I was and still am a diehard Orioles fan. I was really big into baseball when I was younger, but I wasn't. I will be honest. I was not a football fan until I got to college, because University of Delaware football's it's the sport. So although our basketball team was pretty good at the time too. Mike Bray, who's the Notre Dame head coach, was our head coach now, or that. Awesome. So he was a solid head coach. So once I got into Philadelphia, I mean, within the first year, die hard. That's the only sport I follow really anymore. I mean, yeah, the Orioles, look, if they win 10 games, I'm happy. But yeah, I mean, the Eagles to me are still family. It's what I care about. It hurts to think like I want them to lose today, and I think we know why. So it is. I am diehard Eagles fan. I mean, I'm all in. There's, moving out here to California, I didn't just go, okay, now it's time to be a Raiders fan or not now. So Eagles through and through, for sure.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. So I have one more question about, correct me if I'm wrong. You were there for the switch from the vet to the link?
I was, yeah.
How was that? Were there any memories that you still bring? Because I mean, I personally, I don't think I was at least like old enough to remember it. I can't 100% remember when I don't think I was old enough to remember it. But either way, I know, even talking to, older fans, I hear a million memories. So is there anything you pull from that stadium?
Well, so the vet, I was there the last 4 years of the vet. So 90 and then 2000 to 2003. And the one thing the vet had that Lincoln Financial didn't was how loud it could get. Now, there were some loud.
Oh.
Is that me? Oh, you back?
Oh. Yep, we got you back. Sorry.
All right. You're good? All right. Sorry, cheap Wi-Fi. Yeah. So what's it called? So the Veteran Stadium, I think all in all was louder for sure. And just the way it was designed. I mean, a big dome and, a lot of people on top of you. Right. And so that's the one thing. So like the loudest game by far was probably like the, Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, where unfortunately we lost, but that game was loud. But the, working though, it was a disaster underneath. It was, there were cats that looked like rats that looked like cats. I mean, you just don't know which was which. And then there was, if you think about the vet being a big circle, there were only 2 elevators. And in the 2 elevators, they were on the same side, which makes
wow.
So if I had to get somewhere, it could take some time. So logistically speaking, I was, for me to work there, it was harder. Whereas Lincoln Financial Field, there was elevators everywhere. There's shortcuts underneath. I had a prime real estate locker room too, which helped there. TV up on the wall, time clock, had all those kinds of things. So I had all the amenities at Lincoln Financial Field. So I'm working wise, I'm definitely partial to Lincoln Financial for sure.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about, because now we know, things have changed. Obviously, you're not donning the wings anymore, I guess we could say. So you're obviously in the wine business. Tell us a little bit about that. What brought you out to that passion? Because that's pretty interesting.
Sure. So it was my first year working for the Eagles. I had just a bottle of wine where I just said, "Hey, this is cool. I like this." And my sister married into an Italian family, Giants fans, whatever.
It happens.
It happens. And they were big into wine, and I just kind of caught the bug literally within the first year or so working at the Eagles. And the whole time I was just I kept studying wine, which is a fancy way of saying drinking a lot of wine. So I just found out eventually, after making a trip to Napa where I live now, I found just that I had a palate for it. I had a passion for it. And I knew I couldn't wear an eagle or a bird costume for, my whole life. I had to grow up a little bit at some point. So it was, and the other thing too, what was important to me and why I made this huge switch was because I worked a job that was not a job. It was a passion. It was exciting. I got up in the morning and was excited to go to work. Right. So I couldn't go to another job that was just a job. So I had something that I was passionate about. So moving to California does not suck. It's a pretty cool place to live. Earthquakes, fires, and those kinds of things. But it's usually 75 degrees and sunny here. So
better than snow.
No humidity for people. But it just seemed like a good transition. It just seemed like the right time because my first daughter was born in Philly, and after that 1 year of my last year at the Eagles and not having a lot of family time together just seemed right. I've been dressing up like a bird, whether it's a blue hen or an eagle, and for almost 20 years. So it just seemed right. It seemed like a good time.
That's awesome. So where can we find, if the people watching want to, check out what you got? Because I know your Instagram, you got a lot of nice stuff going on. So where can we find some of this wine? Because I want to buy some wine from.
That's what I'm saying.
So my personal Instagram or Twitter is a wine mascot for obvious reasons. But I work for the Jackson family of wines, and we're under a division that's called the Spire Collection, the Spire membership. So we focus in on vineyards, not just here in California, but the family owns vineyards in Australia, France, Italy, South Africa. Wow. So it's when I went in, I want to go all in, and so we're working with some of the best land in the world, and so that's kind of where I landed and ended up, and I now actually oversee 2 different properties where you can, when we can do things, you can visit 2 different locations in either Calistoga in Napa or in Healdsburg in Sonoma. We have 2 different locations that you can come and do wine tastings.
That's awesome.
Hey,
Me and my wife, we're big into the wine. And that's
Yeah.
one of the places we want to go out to is the wine country and check it out and stuff once we, can actually take advantage of the times and everything.
Yeah, well, you know where to find me. Right now, this industry is hurting because we can't see people, visiting wise. We were going back and forth like anybody in the country. We're all dealing with, the hurdles that we're having to jump over. But currently, we can't make any visitations whatsoever. And it's, look, California is one of those large states with a lot of people, and percentage wise, it's getting a little scary. But hopefully soon we'll, get that vaccination or something to make it work.
Or maybe $2,000. Maybe nobody will care if there's $2,000. You got to look at both sides of the coin.
That definitely would help more than 6. That's for sure.
But hey, Ryan, I appreciate you so much for joining us, man. This was a lot of fun. It's
fun to hash out some of the old memories, and really, I try to with Instagram. Whenever we're playing like a certain team, I try to like post a memory. I've been bad about it lately, but If you can go back and see a whole bunch of stuff. The current swoop came, and I got to wear my little NFC Championship ring with the big Super Bowl ring. So there's some cool history in there for both Eagles fans and University of Delaware fans for sure.
Definitely. Awesome. We'll have links to all of your social medias in the description. I can't say it enough, man. We're so honored to have you on here, and we appreciate it so much, man.
My pleasure.
But yeah, man. So other than that, y'all know what it is, man. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 1K. We're so close. We're like 50, 60 away. We're killing it. I love all of you guys. Y'all know what it is, man. It's Fly Eagles Fly, and we are out here. Peace.
Go Birds.
Yes.